Yes, yes. Greetings, all Africans who are watching. Sorry, we were supposed to have this 6 minutes ago, so we are a little bit late. But nevertheless, we are live. We are live once again. This is Africa Reimagined. My name is Kwame Gonza, and I'm a Pan-Africanist as usual. Uh, what we want to talk about today is understanding the structural makeup of society, because before we talk about liberating our continent, Africa, we have to understand really uh, how the continent itself is made up, how the structure of society is composed, what composes the structure of society. One of the reasons why Nkrumah, as an analyst and as a prophet, as a writer, as a liberator, and all the other things you can talk of, uh, is that Nkrumah was able to understand what society is. And his philosophy and his analysis, his understanding has continued to be consulted and looked at because of his outstanding understanding of society itself, what makes up society. So Nkrumah, you see, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah did not just give solutions, but he first analyzed the society, and then in this analyzing of society, he could come up with the solutions themselves. Just to take you back, Nyerere said that after Nkrumah died, I mean, I'm talking about the great Julius Kambarage Nyerere, who was the president of Tanzania, who led Tanzania to independence. Nyerere came up and said that that after Nkrumah died, he had to study Nkrumah for the next 10 years, consistent 10 years, for him to understand what Nkrumah was talking about. Okay, he had to study Nkrumah consistently for the next 10 years. This is Nyerere who's talking about this. It's Nyerere who's saying this, that he had to study Nkrumah for the next 10 years. He has to study Nkrumah's work for the next 10 years consistently. He said, he used the word consistently for him to be able to understand what Nkrumah was talking about. Okay, now I want to analyze what Nkrumah was talking about and why would even a person as great as Julius Nyerere say such a thing. Okay, because Nkrumah, Nyerere himself was a great analyst of society. And then he came up with the ideas of communalism, Udima, and all those philosophies and those ideas which even have continued, to go forward. They were taken on by many African diaspora, and they formed, different. So the principles which President Julius Nyerere, the late President Julius Nyerere, coined, have gone on to be adopted even up to today. But Nyerere himself, like I said, he said that he had to study Nkrumah consistently for 10 years after Nkrumah's death for him to be able to understand what Nkrumah was talking about. Now, when you look at Nyerere, Nyerere actually was one of the biggest opponents of Nkrumah, because in their time, when you were talking about 1963, they used to say that Nkrumah had met his equal, especially when we are talking about the African Union, the formation of the Organization of African Unity in 1963 in Addis Ababa. Nkrumah comes up and gives his speeches, and he says, we have to form a union now, okay? Nkrumah says, we have to form a union right now. If we do not form a union, as all of you remember, he's one of his greatest speeches. Actually, it is considered one of the greatest African speeches. If it is not the greatest, then it is one of the greatest. The speech which Nkrumah gave in 1963 in Addis Ababa, you can Google that, Nkrumah's speech in 1963 in Addis Ababa. So you can go out and examine that speech. So Nkrumah comes up and gives this speech, and then he warns about the dangers of delay, the dangers of regionalism, because Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere was the biggest proponent of regionalism that was happening on the continent. So Nkrumah comes up and says regionalism will not work. And we all agree, even today, that regionalism has not achieved anything for us. When you're talking about SADC, you're talking about East African community, SADC cannot even stop the rebels who have attacked, Mozambique. You see, East African community is now still grappling with the situation in Congo, which has just been admitted, of course, in the East African community. But the East African community is not decisive. They cannot sit down and say, this is how we are going to approach the situation in the Congo for us to be able to solve the chaos that has been in the Congo. So this is about regionalism. So Rwanda cannot agree with the Uganda, and agree with Kenya, and agree with Tanzania, and say the UN has been in the Congo for the last 60 years. And we are saying that this is enough. So because if these regional bodies are able to function, if they are really functional, and they should be functional, as it is claimed by the people who push them forward and say these regional bodies should be able to work, or they can work, then they should be able to solve these problems. They should be able to stand up to the aggression, especially the aggression from the Western world. I mean, SADC and the African, the East African community should be able to stand up and say, it is enough. The UN has been in Congo, in the eastern part, especially the eastern part of Congo, the western part of Congo, eastern part of Congo, eastern part of Congo, of course. The UN has been in Congo for enough time. 60 years is enough. Now, since the East African community has admitted the DRC into the East African community, then the East African community, it is time for it to take over this, this chaos, this conflict, and solve it, and flush out all the rebels in the, in the Congo. But because this regionalism cannot work, is a door for opening a gap for neocolonialism to come and function and continue to divide and conquer. Because we know that neocolonialism thrives, and colonialism thrives on divide and conquer. Okay, and this is what people like Nkrumah, they were trying to warn us about. Nkrumah was trying to warn us about the divide and conquer tactics of neocolonialism, because he understood that neocolonialism thrives on divide and conquer. And so that is why Nkrumah was very much against regionalism. Regionalism, I'm talking about the formation of organizations like ECOWAS, which has not even been able to flush out Boko Haram in Nigeria, and now we have rebels in Congo, and then we have rebels in Mozambique. But all these organizations, SADC, ECOWAS, East African Community, they have not been able to solve these problems. So this is what Nkrumah was against, that neocolonialism will pass behind even within the regional bodies and started dividing them. So that is why Nkrumah was very much against this regionalism. So Nyerere was the biggest proponent of regionalism, and he was saying that we are not gods, that we can will the things into existence. This was his response to Nkrumah. When Nkrumah was pushing and saying regionalism is going to cause more problems, is going to cause, to open a chance for balkanization of the continent, okay? It is going to cause more chaos on the continent. So Nkrumah says that we have to unify now. We unify or we perish. And this is what is going to happen. Or if we do not unify, then what is going to happen is that the other presidents on the continent, including me, will be overthrown from power. And just as Nkrumah, pointed it out, because he pointed out even examples of this, of South America. South America got independence starting, for a very long time, starting, in the 1990s, starting in 1805 with the independence of Haiti. Okay, but when they got their independence, immediately neocolonialism sprang into action. The United States, how it declared Latin America as its backyard, that no one, under the Monroe Doctrine, that no one is supposed to come and occupy or do any business or take over, Latin America. Okay, so the United States became a de facto neocolonial power in Latin America and South America. And he said no one is supposed to come here. So they declared under the Monroe Doctrine that place belongs to them. So Latin America suffered for the last 150 years, until 1963, when Nkrumah was talking about. Nkrumah pointed out that Latin America, do you want to make Africa like Latin America, which has suffered under neocolonialism? That speech is really very interesting. And I encourage you people to go out there because it is very visionary. It is very prophetic that all the things which Nkrumah mentioned, they came out to, to become, they became true. Okay. They manifested the things which Nkrumah mentioned, they came out to manifest. A lot of leaders were overthrown. Africa sprang into, this useless place whereby neocolonialism came and dominated. When you were talking about the 1970s, when they unleashed, for example, the structural adjustment on the African continent. So all these are things which Nkrumah mentioned. Even when he was in Guinea-Conakry, when he was removed from power in Ghana and he went to become a co-president in Guinea, and he stayed in Guinea, I will not call it an exile, because Nkrumah himself made it clear that he was not in exile, because any place on the African continent is his home. So he was not in exile. If he was in exile, then he would have gone out of the African continent. So from a Pan-African perspective, we can say that Nkrumah was never in exile, but he was in Guinea. He was a co-president in Guinea. So when he was there, Nkrumah, he went on to say that what he is seeing is that a lot of chaos is going to be unleashed on the African continent after the failure to unify. But then after the chaos has been unleashed, for example, the wars, you remember that there was a lot of coups, for example, in countries like Ghana until J.J. Rawlings came, a lot of coups all over the continent. Congo became unstable. Uganda, a lot of coups were in Uganda, for example, more than 9 presidents, So it was a lot of chaos all over the continent, the whole of, the western part of Africa, where France was the colonial dominator and exploiter and oppressor over there. All those countries, a lot of chaos was unleashed. You can see Liberia, you can see Sierra Leone. Okay, so a lot of chaos. So Nkrumah said that chaos is going to be unleashed all over the continent, and Africa is going to sink. And lo and behold, that is what happened. Because after the unleashing of the structural adjustments, the structural adjustments, actually, they are the ones which led to the sinking. Aside the wars, the structural adjustments also led to the sinking. Because you remember that after the 60s, a lot of leaders on the African continent were very Pan-African, they were very nationalistic, that they set up a lot of industry. Okay, they set up a lot of industry on the continent. Look at countries like Nigeria, for example. A lot of industry was set up. But after the overthrow of that nationalistic, those nationalist African leaders, then all the industries were destroyed. How were they destroyed? The structural adjustments. Because the white people, they don't want Africa to industrialize. Like Nkrumah made it clear in his work in neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, and Africa must unite. Nkrumah made it clear that what they are here to do is that they want Africa's market, number one. Number two, they want Africa's raw materials. So they want to extract the raw materials from Africa, okay, number one, and take them and make products in their industry, and then come back, number two, and dump the finished products on the African market, okay, use the African continent as a market. So what does this mean? This means they don't want you to use the raw materials which you have. They want to take those raw materials to Britain and then use your market as a dumping ground. And so that means they have to prevent the industrialization on your continent, because this industrialization will lead to the consumption of the resources which you have. Okay, so this is what it is about. So Nkrumah saw all these things, that this is what they want to do to us. I know I may go as deep, as I can, and I may get you I'm lost, but I will rewind back. So Nkrumah says that Africa is going to sink, and that sinking which led to the industrialization of the African continent. Now, when Africa sank so deep, this led to the total control Neocolonialism consolidated its position on the African continent. So you can see that that consolidation has led neocolonialism to do whatever it wants on the continent, install military bases, which Nkrumah warned very much that military bases are very dangerous. Or, military bases are littered all over the continent. Camp Lamoa in Djibouti, South Africa, United States has military bases in Botswana. They are trying to put one in Zambia. They have military bases in Niger. They had some in Mali until the Malian government became very Pan-Africanist and it explored, it expelled France and the United States, both of them. So the United States still has military bases in Ghana, okay, at the Kotoka, at the international airport, at the gateway to the country. The major gateway to the country of Ghana is where the military base of the United States is. So it is a joke that you have leaders who can allow such thing. This is selling the sovereignty of the country. And the United States, in addition to having a military base, in addition to having a military base at the Kotoka International Airport in Ghana, they are trying to establish another military base in the northern part of the country. Okay, so this is what is happening. That Nkrumah warned all about these things. So he said that Africa will sink, from this chaos, and then after sinking, a new Africa will arise. But when he meant, what he meant by a new Africa will arise, it means that the Africa that would arise out of this chaos when Africa was sinking, what Nkrumah meant was that this new Africa that will arise out of that chaos will be unrecognizable. So this is what Nkrumah meant, that Africa which will come out of that chaos will be absolutely unrecognizable. It will not be African in nature. That is what Nkrumah meant, that a new Africa will arise out of the chaos. So Africa, like what we see today, that the chaos is going on today, people are dissatisfied and they are saying, where is Pan-Africanism, for example? But Pan-Africanism is working. Pan-Africanism is going on with the work, okay? Just the fact that you don't engage the Pan-Africanists and the fact that you are not engaged in the struggle, it doesn't mean that Pan-Africanism is not working. Pan-Africanism is working, is in the ground working, and is laying the foundations of the overthrow of neocolonialism. And don't get it twisted, okay? Don't get twisted, don't be confused even about it. The work is going on. We are doing the work. The groundwork is being laid. The concrete, the foundation for the liberation of the continent from neocolonialism is going on. So don't get it twisted. That's what I'm trying to say. So Nkrumah says the new Africa will arise out. So that is the Africa which we have today. That now you look at our continent, it is unrecognizable. It's un-African. You can see that gay rights going on all over the other side. The media has been taking over. Like people, our women palming air, burning their air. So it is uncomparable to the Africa we had in the 60s. You can see that our women were very proud of their hair, and the African, the Afro hair was on their head from the continent up to, the African diaspora in the United States. You can see the Black Panther and all that. This was pride. So after neocolonialism consolidated its position on the continent, then Africa sank and the new Africa rose out. So that Africa is the one which looks like what Europe wanted, Europe wanted it to look like. But this doesn't mean that the neocolonialists are going to have it smooth for the rest of the time. Because like we saw in slavery, they had full control, and then Haiti, did something and was able to fight them and get independence and abolish slavery. It's the same thing with the colonialism. In 1945, it looked like, it was all smooth for them, for the colonialists, until people like Nkrumah and others, they rose up on the continent. And the thing exploded, and many countries got political independence. And even today, so whenever you see, when people have had privilege for a very long time, they get very comfortable. They had victory for a very long time. They had control for a very long time. They get very comfortable and they think that they have won. Like after the Cold War, for example, the Western world was lied to by people who wrote books, and they told them that now they have won the war. Okay, like a gentleman who wrote a book called At the End of History, Francis Fukuyama, and he claimed that the Western world had won And there is not going to be any other system in the world that is going to come up against the Western system. So the rest of history now is done. Okay, this is the end of history. That is what he said. So I would like you to go out and read that book by Francis Fukuyama. The book is called The End of History. So Francis Fukuyama goes on to say that this is the end of history. The Western world has won. There's no any other civilization. There's no any other country that's going to come up and challenge the Western world. So now neoliberalism is going to rule all over. So this is what happened. Okay. So whenever people are comfortable in this kind of victory, they become again vulnerable. So, and that is what happened. Like I said, in 1791, Haiti started the struggle, and he was able to win because these guys had gotten so comfortable that now they control Africa. They control the bodies of Africans. They control the minds of Africans. They control the resources of Africa. Okay, so they control everything about Africa, apart from Ethiopia, which resisted this control. Now, when it comes to colonialism, also, so for slavery, Haiti twisted their arm, and they did not expect it, and they never forgave Haiti. That is why you see up to today they are still punishing Haiti. So many people will ask, why is Haiti, for example, still in the problems it is in? It is because they never expected. Haiti twisted their arm, so they never expected that the Africans would be able to stand up and liberate themselves. Okay, so that is what happened. Now, come to independence. So they were very comfortable. They have taken over. Now they started fighting against each other because they were very comfortable. They thought that everything is now cool, everything is nice. So now we are comfortable. And this is a human emotion. You know, you cannot blame anyone because many people, in many cases, they are comfortable that when they get a lot of victories, this one is an inherent emotion that you cannot take it away. Okay, so when they got very comfortable during colonialism, they were fighting against each other. Now World War I, World War II, you see, then came these guys who had the conference, the Manchester Conference, which is called the Manchester Conference. They were Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, George Padmore, Amy Ashwood Garvey, you know, W.E.B. Du Bois. So all these guys came together. And these guys, they looked at them as a joke. You see, they didn't expect that these guys can do anything because these guys were not close to the rivers of power. They were not even a little bit close to the power. They were not in the middle class of the colonial countries. Okay, these were just students, you know, normal guys, and you know, claiming that they are Pan-Africanists and they are revolutionaries. They were just claiming, but they were not even very close to the rivers of power. But this thing, which was looked at as a joke, this conference, which was looked at as a joke, and they even laughed at them, became something else because these guys had become these colonialists had become so accustomed to power, and they became very comfortable, so much comfortable that it became a problem. This comfort became their downfall. And so this is also what I see even in the situation today, that you see that these people, the colonial agents, the neo-colonial agents, I'm talking about the majority of the African presence on the continent, they are very comfortable. They think that everything is smooth. Now they can come and lie, you know, they can come and lie to people with the claims of democracy, that everything is democratic. Now everything should be democratic. So there should not be anything else. Everything should be run through democracy. So they use this behind to exploit the people, to help the colonialists in exploiting the African people and the resources of the African people. And they think that the people are not educated, that the people don't understand what works and what doesn't work. So they think that this democracy is like a religion, that you can push it forward. Every time they talk about incompetency and the lack of delivery of services on the African continent, they think that you can come out there and just use the card of democracy. This is it. Don't you know that we are practicing democracy? So democracy should be a passport for continued exploitation of the African people, for indiscriminate exploitation of the African people. It should be a passport for stealing Africa's resources and oppression of the African people. So this is the claim with these people now, what we see. So they think that the African people are not paying attention. So I want to examine, I know I rolled in a couple of concepts here because I want you to understand something. I want you to understand the mind of Kwame Nkrumah. The mind of Kwame Nkrumah. Okay? We need to be in a position where we can analyze people like Kwame Nkrumah to the core, deeply, okay? We need to understand him deeply, okay? Because Nkrumah is, you know, is a very special person. So what am I trying to say? That the regionalism and the chaos that you see that is going on the continent, Nkrumah warned about these things. But the biggest proponent of these ideas that time in 1963, before he came to the light, what I call him coming to the light, or him coming to the level, to the same level of consciousness with Nkrumah, was Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who was the former president of Tanzania. May God, you know, rest his soul in eternal peace. He contributed a lot, that he brought Tanzania together. He did tremendous contribution for the African struggle, because after Nkrumah left the scene, Julius Nyerere came on the scene, and he was able to help the biggest part of South Africa to get liberated. You can talk of Zimbabwe, which was that they called Rhodesia, and all the other countries, South Africa. He contributed a lot, that, you know, fighters for South Africa and Rhodesia, you know, which is Zimbabwe, were being trained now in Tanzania, Uganda, and all these countries. The people, the fighters were trained there, and then they were sent back to be able to fight this guy, Ian Smith of Zimbabwe, who was exploiting the people and killing the people over there, even though these things are not spoken about in the Western world. So Julius Nyerere contributed, but he was the biggest proponent of Nkrumah. And Nyerere argued that regionalism, when we go slowly, we unify West Africa, unify East Africa, unify South Africa, unify North Africa, you know, Egypt, you know, Morocco, Algeria, and all those, and then consequently we'll come together. And Nkrumah tells them that this way of looking at things is very, very dangerous. You are just opening more space for neocolonialism to come and operate inside. And neocolonialism indeed came and operated through those gaps which we are left. Because once you divide the continent and you put those groups in different parts of the continent, neocolonialism, even if these groups were successful at banding together in two countries, neocolonialism would find a way of using, like, for example, ECOWAS against the East African community, or using ECOWAS against the SADC, or using SADC against the East African community, or using SADC against the ECOWAS, or using SADC against the, because that is what neocolonialism is. That is what colonialism is. Nkrumah said that colonialism doesn't change its ways. It only, it doesn't change in substance. It only changes the means. Okay, so it's the same. So he said that colonialism has only changed in the outward appearance, but the substance is still the same. Okay, it's like bleaching. It's like someone bleaching their skin. In this one, I'm not talking about women. I can also talk about men. There's men. We have seen men who bleach. Rumors have been coming around that even Vibes Cartel bleached. So it's like bleaching, someone bleaching, but you cannot bleach the bones, the structure. Okay, so the structure, the substance of the human being, you cannot bleach the heart. So you can change your color as a human being on the face. Okay, you can even do plastic surgery, but you cannot change the substance of the heart. So this is what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was talking about, that colonialism only changes the ways in which it works, but the substance of colonialism is still the same. They still want to achieve the same things. What are those things? The exploitation of African resources and the building up of Europe and all the countries where they went and colonized and captured. Countries like Canada, Australia, the United States. These countries, they don't belong to them. These are Europeans. So they went there and captured these countries. So Nkrumah says that if you divide the continent, then you are leaving gaps for that kind of exploitation. They will exploit it. Let us hold the thing together. And he asked them, he continued to ask them, are you scared of holding the bull by the horns? These are the questions which Nkrumah was asking the people. Are you scared of holding the bull by the horns? Do you understand? So now, with that being said, I want us to come and understand the mind of Kwame Nkrumah. The mind of Kwame Nkrumah. I want to start with one statement which Nkrumah made. During the same speech in the Organization of African Unity in 1963, the speech which he gave, and the speech is referred to as the most iconic speech in 1963 at the formation of the Organization of African Unity in Addis Ababa. And even this speech, people like PLO Lumumba have gone ahead to praise this speech. Okay, the understanding which Nkrumah had, the kind of sharp understanding, the kind of sharp analysis which Nkrumah had. In the speech, Nkrumah said, African unity is above all. I want to repeat. You listen to this carefully. Listen to what Nkrumah is saying. Nkrumah is saying, African unity is, above all, a political kingdom which can only be gained by political means. The social and economic development of Africa will come only within the political kingdom and not the other way around. I want to repeat. Let me repeat this statement. Let me just repeat this part. Nkrumah is saying, African unity is, above all, a political kingdom which can only be gained by political means. I want you to put a quote on that. African unity is, above all, a political kingdom which can only be gained by political means. The social and economic development of Africa will come only within the political kingdom, not the other way around. Now, I want to expand on what Nkrumah means by the other way around. So, having said that African unity is a political kingdom that can only be achieved by political means and not, the other way around. So the other way around is that a group of people, even today, when you look at, for example, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, they are actually trying to work against the things which Nkrumah said. So any of these guys who have tried to push out this, this kind of thinking, is that they are trying to work against Nkrumah's thinking. And I still consider Nkrumah the utmost authority on the analysis of the African continent, the utmost authority on Africa's problems and African solutions. I still consider him, until there's a president or any individual who has come out there to give practical solutions, to spend his life. Because you have to remember that Nkrumah is someone who spent the rest of his life analyzing the African continent. He spent the rest of his life trying to solve Africa's problem, to the extent that Nkrumah even did not want to marry. Nkrumah did not want to marry. They had to force him to marry because they told him, looking at the position, his advisors told him that looking at the position where you are, you have to marry because you are the prime minister. You can't be like that. You have to set a good example. And then he went ahead to marry. Okay, so Nkrumah wanted to dedicate his life to the liberation of Africa and the reconstruction of Africa. He considered Africa like his wife. Okay, so he spent so much time thinking about this continent and finding solutions for it from the start when he was in Ghana and leaving for the United States. Nkrumah was thinking about finding solutions to liberate the continent. So I still consider him the utmost authority on African problems and African solutions and the analysis. I've not found an individual who wrote extensively like Nkrumah, trying to understand the African problem and then, trying to come up with the solutions. He did not only try to come up with a solution, but he implemented those solutions. So he was not only a theorist, a political theorist, but he was also someone who practiced what he preached. So it is very dangerous for individuals to come up. They have never practiced anything. They have never been in a position of leadership to the scale that he was, to the point that he was, to the magnitude that he was, and they claim that they can offer solutions to counter what Nkrumah, the solutions which Nkrumah, offered. I'm not saying that everything that Nkrumah, offered was right as a solution. But I'm saying that majority of the things which Nkrumah offered as solutions, they are still solutions today. So for people to stand out there and say the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is the solution, I mean, it is a solution, but it is not the solution. So I'll come back to talk about that. Today is not for talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I'll record a video on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and later we'll have these discussions about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So we are looking at Nkrumah's mind. Now, when you look at Nkrumah's mind, he says that the African unity is above all, a political kingdom that will only be gained by political means. And he says that Nkrumah continues to say that the social and economic development of Africa will come only within the political kingdom. And I wanted to explain what Nkrumah means when he says that, not the other way around. So when he's saying that not the other way around, he means that other people were saying that Africa should attain economic power, then unify later. Actually, this school of thought is mostly which was propounded by those people who were advocating for regionalism. The school of thought, I think that was the Monrovia group. That was the Monrovia group, because the Monrovia group was the gradualistic group. So they were saying that Africa should go slow. But Nkrumah is warning them in 1963 and saying that this is a recipe for disaster. And like we have seen in that speech, when you go and examine, 1963 up to now, everything he said happened as he said it. Okay, because the people, they did not listen. So Nkrumah is saying that African unity is above all a political kingdom which can only be gained by political means. The social and economic development of Africa will come only within the political kingdom, not the other way around. Not the other way around. So not the other way around, Nkrumah is meaning that you cannot attain political union in Africa by concentrating on economic before the political. So there is another quote which he uses, and he wrote it in, I think, Towards Colonial Freedom and also Africa Must Unite. Nkrumah, he says that, seek ye first the political kingdom, and all the other things shall be added unto you. So I wanted to bring this because I'm trying to explain, what I'm trying to explain, even when you look at my thumbnail, is that the constitution of society, Nkrumah, why did Nkrumah say, seek ye first the political kingdom? Because he understood society on another level, on a higher level compared to his contemporaries. Okay? Nkrumah understood society to a different level compared to his contemporaries. So society is comprised of, starting at the top. If you look at my thumbnail, I put something there. And I said that society is made up of the political at the top, the political level at the top, and then we have the economic level, okay, below, and then below the economic level, we have the social organization of society. Political, economic, and social organization of society. So if you are talking about reorganizing society, you cannot say, so that is why Nkrumah is talking about that it is not the other way around. It is not social and economic that will bring about political unity. It is not that will bring about political unity of Africa or the African continent. And he's saying you have to start with the political level, because that is how society is organized. And why do we talk about political? Because at the political level is where everything is determined from. If you want to organize society, you have to have the political level organized. You have to have good leadership, because that is where everything is determined from. So however hard it is, you have to face that reality. Just because something is real, just because it is a reality, it doesn't mean you should run away from the reality. So what you have to do is that you have to find a way of confronting that reality and living with it and solving the challenges, that come with being, with facing that reality, the challenges that come with that reality. So instead of you running away and starting to cook, unrealistic and solutions that are instead going to waste a lot of time. So this is what Nkrumah meant by African unity is a political kingdom that will only be attained by political means, and the social and economic development of Africa will come within the political kingdom and not the other way around. So this is what Nkrumah meant. And when we are talking about the organization of society, society is organized from the political level to the economic level, below the political, and then we have the social organization of society. So these things you have been seeing, for example, crime, prostitution, and all types of crimes, corruption, these are social problems. You see, these are social problems. And many times, people, they waste the time on saying Africa's problem is corruption. Africa's problem is business. We don't have enough business. Let us build enough businesses. You see, let us solve this and that. So what they don't understand how society, the makeup of society, is that these things, they are very important. They are very important. Corruption is, nobody likes corruption, definitely. Nobody doesn't like to have a strong economy. But the strong economy, China has taught us that you have to first achieve independence, like what China did in 1949. China first achieved its independence and consolidated Mao Zedong, what he was doing after 1949, what you are looking at as the Cultural Revolution in China. It was consolidation. That was the process of consolidation of power, of the political power, okay, in China. So when Mao achieved that, then he started the reconstruction. He started building the best industry. So all these mistakes, which you see that Mao did during the Cultural Revolution, for example, that millions of people died. Which country hasn't made mistakes, for example? The United States killed off millions of indigenous people when it was consolidating power for them to build up the United States. They enslaved our people, millions of our people, and killed millions of our people. This was the process of consolidation of power. The building of Europe itself, they killed numerous people around the world to consolidate their power and then be able to exploit those positions through colonialism and build up Europe. So when people are talking about that Mao in China killed a lot of people during the consolidation, during the Cultural Revolution, I think this is extremely naive. And these are people who don't understand how nations are built up. You have to sacrifice something. So for someone to think that in Africa, we are going to come up and say it is going to be democratic, everything then it will be achieved through democratic, all of a sudden Africa will unify. I think that is a joke. That is one of the most unrealistic joke. With Africa's issue, with Africa's situation, when we look at the extent to which Africa has penetrated, has been penetrated by neocolonialism, the extent to which neocolonialism has integrated itself in the African systems, it is even very naive to think that in Africa, to achieve independence for us, it is going to be peaceful. Even recently, I think when PLO Lumumba was speaking in Ethiopia, I say that Africa's problem and liberation, he said that Africa's liberation is a problem that may have to be solved by aggression. Why? Because these people who are oppressing us, they don't understand the language of peace. They don't. And it goes on also to show you when Nkrumah wrote the book, The Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. This is one of his last publications. Nkrumah said we have to resort to armed struggle. Okay, so when we are talking about the liberation of the African continent, I think that all options have to be on the table. All the options there is in the world have to be on the table. You have seen the poking of Ethiopia, that colonialism, neocolonialism has tried to poke Ethiopia. Has Ethiopia solved this through peaceful means? It has to. I don't want even you to let me talk, say a lot of things. Ethiopia has had to resort to aggression to be able to protect the country. You see, and when we are talking about Mali, for it to liberate itself from France, so you cannot think that it is going to be democratic means that are going to, to liberate, Mali, from France. It has to be aggression for us to go out there. So when people fail to analyze the situation on our continent, then they resort to all kind of unrealistic, suggestions on the continent. So society is made up of the political level, economic level, and social level. So the social and economic level are means, should be used as means of attaining the political level. Then use the political level which you have attained, consolidate it, and then start the reconstruction process. One of the things which Nkrumah said is that get independence. In his roadmap, one of the things which he put out there, the strategy he put out there during the liberation process, he said, get independence, okay? When you finish getting independence, consolidate that independence, okay? But how do you consolidate the independence? Consolidate independence through unity, okay? The unifying of the African continent was supposed to be the process of consolidation of the independence, and we failed that. So when we failed to consolidate the independence, that's why you see that neocolonialism came back and took over. So that's why Nkrumah was fighting very much that we should, take on unity. We should unify immediately the 32 independent African states in 1963 in Addis Ababa, the formation of the Organization of African Unity. They were supposed to unify. That was the process of consolidation. So when we failed to consolidate, then independence was compromised. And that is what we have it today. So these are the things which people don't understand. So when Nkrumah is talking, you have to listen. You have to listen when Nkrumah is talking about something. When Nkrumah is analyzing for you, you have to pay maximum attention, extra attention than when others are speaking. Like I told you, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere said that after the death, even though he was his biggest proponent, his biggest, opposer, and even to the extent that they said that Nkrumah had met his equal when we are talking about equal, but they were not equal. Okay, Nyerere did not just understand. I would like to say, may his soul rest in eternal peace once again, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere did not just understand what Nkrumah was talking about, but he came out later, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, to tell us that he had to take 10 consistent years after the death of Kwame Nkrumah to understand, for him to understand what Nkrumah was talking about. So that means that everything which Nkrumah wrote down, we have to pay close attention to it. From the beginning of his struggle of gaining independence to the end of his life on the deathbed, and he's talking about, what is he talking about? We can find what Nkrumah is talking about if we go and read the book, The Political and Social Thought of Kwame Nkrumah, which was published by Ama Baine in 2011. What was Nkrumah saying on his deathbed? He was still saying African unity is the solution. It is not about the color. Africans have the ability. These were his words. These were Nkrumah's words at the end of his life, on his deathbed. It's not about the color. And he was talking about African unity. Even when he was, to show that Nkrumah was an extraordinary man. When he was in Guinea Conakry as the co-president of Guinea with President Sékou Touré, Nkrumah said that I've built up the country for them. He's talking about Ghana now. I gave them independence and I've built up the country for them. Okay? I've built up the country for them. And he continued to say that it is up to their business. It is their business. It is up to them. If they destroy it, if they want, they can destroy the country. The only reason why I want to go back to Ghana, because he was working very much to come back to Ghana. The only reason I want to go back to Ghana, listen to this. Nkrumah said the only reason I want to go back to Ghana is because of African unity. I want you to look at this man. I want you to examine the mind of this man. The only reason I want to go back, I've built up. He looked at Ghana that he has given them everything. He gave them independence. He has built up the country for them. And even when you come today to Ghana, You can see that the signs are everywhere that Nkrumah did this. He did this. Okay? He did this. The infrastructure, the best infrastructure and industries which they destroyed. Actually, it turned out to be prophetic in that after he left, they came and destroyed all the industries which he built. They destroyed the majority of the industries which Nkrumah built in Ghana. You see? So the only reason I want to go back to Ghana is because of African unity. It's because of African unity. So this is what Nkrumah said. You see? So that is how society is made up. So when we are talking about liberating Africa, we have to understand even today that that understanding has never gone away. It cannot go away. Nkrumah's writings from when he started his struggle until the end, his writings have to be taken seriously. They have to be given respect, maximum respect. Not some people coming around with, going about with some... We know that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is going to fail. This is not a secret. You don't need a prophet to tell you that. Because we have not built up the strong industries to produce the things which we are going to trade in. This is one of the reasons why the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is going to fail. So that means the market is going to be taken advantage by foreigners. And we have seen this, that companies like Volkswagen, Toyota, Nissan, they have come to establish, headquarters. I mean, they have come to establish assembly plants in Ghana. Not even to manufacture, but assembly. To say that these things are made in Ghana, they are made in Africa, so that they can take advantage. And they have come to establish it where the Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is. And the history of these Western countries corrupting. They come and bribe out to the government. Just recently, a few days ago, Glencore has been fined in the United States. And it is actually unfortunate that Glencore has been fined in the United States about more than $1.1 billion for corrupting, for paying bribes, in the third world where it is exploiting, and then also paying bribes in the United States itself. So it has been fined a few days ago. You can Google it. You see? So the Western countries have a history of corruption, that they are corrupt. They are very corrupt. So they will come to where the headquarters, the offices of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is, to come and corrupt the people there. Pay bribes so that they can give them favors, and claim that these cars which are assembled in Ghana, they are not made in Ghana, they are assembled in Ghana, are made in Africa products, so that they can take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We have seen the re-engagement of France. I mean, let me just leave it here. I'll talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area another day. But this is it. What I'm trying to say is that everything that Nkrumah laid out and said, we have to pay closer attention to it, because he understood society on a different level. We have to understand and appreciate many times within our generations and beyond our generations that there is certain human beings who exist among us with a superior understanding, with superior abilities, like how you can see boxing, Floyd Mayweather, you can see Michael Jordan, you can see LeBron James. If we are able to admit like people like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these guys, they have superior abilities when it comes to football, soccer, boxing, when it comes to Usain Bolt, sprinting. We admit that these people are superior to us. So why don't we do the same when it comes to the political space? But we think that anyone can provide solutions, can give solutions when it comes to the political space. Nkrumah was an exceptional being who understood the field of politics because he dedicated his life to it. Just like what you see Usain Bolt did, that he dedicated his life to the sport, of running, of racing. Like we have seen Floyd Mayweather dedicated all his life to the sport of boxing, and he mastered the sport of boxing. that he was able to win 50 fights with 0 loss. Just like we saw Michael Jordan, just like we are seeing LeBron James, just like we are seeing Jay-Z, Tupac. These guys, they dedicated themselves to the, to the sport of music, to the craft of music. And we respected them. We respected Tupac up to them. We respected Jay-Z as an icon, as a master of his craft. We respected Lionel Messi as a master at his craft. So why is it that we want to disrespect Dr. Kwame Nkrumah when it comes to politics? That we want to play in the political space. We want to play in the political space. People who have never dedicated themselves to even developing a village, they want to come up with solutions for the African continent without consulting, people who even wrote down what was happening on the continent. And that is Nkrumah, that he wrote down what happened. So these people who came with the idea of the African Continental Free Trade Area, I think they did a good job. It is a solution, but it is not the solution. I want to repeat that one. The African Continental Free Trade Area, it is a solution, but it is not the solution to the African problem. The African problem is a political union. That is the solution. The solution to the African problem is what I told you, the understanding of how society is organized. The understanding that at the top of society, where we are supposed to start from, is the political. And then second is the economic level. And then we have the social level. That's why you see they call them social ills. When we have ills in society, they say social ills, because those things are a result of a dysfunctional economic system. And the dysfunctional economic system, like what we are seeing in majority of the African countries, is a result of a dysfunctional political system. The whole of the Western world, why you are saying that they have problems, their economies are contracting. When you look at 2020, starting the year 2020, Europe, France, the dysfunctional political systems in the European metropolis and the Western world, they are the ones which have led to the dysfunctional economic systems and the increase in the dysfunctionality of the social systems in the Western world. So that is it. It is a simple understanding. You can see countries like Britain, for example, Germany, France, economies have been contracting since 2020. At the advent of coronavirus. Meanwhile, in the midst of coronavirus in 2020, President Magufuli took Tanzania to the middle income status. You see, while other economies were contracting, Tanzania under President Magufuli, may his soul rest in peace as a great African, Tanzania was going to the middle income status. That is when it attained the middle income status. So what does this tell you? It tells you that the political space, now Tanzania has gone back and it is rolling back the gains under President Samia Suluhu. She's rolling back all the gains that Tanzania made. I don't know what is the claim, her claims, I don't know what they are. But President Magufuli took Tanzania to the middle status amidst the coronavirus. While in the Western world, economies were contracting. So that is what I'm telling you, that once you have disorganization and chaos at the political level, the economics will be bad. Then the social level, crimes will come up. Killings and all these are problems. These are just symptoms. Whatever you see that is happening on at the social level, those are symptoms. Those are just the symptoms of a dysfunctional economic system and political system. So a dysfunctional economic system is a symptom of a dysfunctional. So you can see that at one point, the economic level becomes an effect, okay? It becomes a cause. And on the other level, it becomes a symptom. Cause and effect. At one level, it becomes an effect. At the other level, it becomes a cause. But the only space which is a principle The only level which is principal is the economic, is the political level. The political level is never an effect in this hierarchy of organization of society. So the political level, when we look at it, it is always what gives rise to a good economic or a bad economics, and then consequently to a good social system or a bad social system. So that is what I wanted to explain in this video when I said that understanding society organization before the African Revolution. So our efforts are supposed to follow in the lines of what Nkrumah is talking about. What Nkrumah is saying. What is Nkrumah saying again? Seek ye first the political kingdom, and all the other things shall be added unto you. And he continued to say that African unity is above all a political kingdom which can only be gained by political means. The social and economic development of Africa will come only within the political kingdom and not the other way around. My name is Kwame Gonza. The channel is called Africa Reimagined. You can watch out many other videos which have done in analysis of what is going on in the world. You can talk of Pan-Africanism versus tribalism. You can talk of the Ukraine situation. I've done an analysis on it, extensive, a presentation which I did to the Concisism class. Many people, they appreciated, tremendously this presentation because it points out the purpose of the war in Ukraine and why the Europeans and the United States and the Western world is so much invested in this war. There's a reason why. So you should find that analysis. I've analyzed also what is it that we are in. Are we in the third industrial revolution or we are in the fourth industrial revolution? Many people have been claiming that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And that video is there. So find out in that video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet, and share this with other people so that we can get a correct understanding of what is going on in our continent. I want to add this also. We have 3 petitions which are going around. One petition is about, petitioning the African Union and African heads of state for the unification of the continent right now into a single state. 2, the stoppage of the wars and the formation of a single military, union on the continent. We want a single military. We want a single army on the continent to be able to overcome the wars on the continent and expel the foreign military bases. Number 3, it is the call for a single passport for all Africans and a single money, a single currency for all Africans. And all these 3 petitions have been endorsed by the PLO Lumumba Foundation. They have been endorsed by the other big people like Dr. Susan, Pan-African Daily TV. They have been endorsed by Sister Shanice of the Sister Shanice Show. They have been endorsed by Dr. Edmond Folfak, a renowned oncologist, doctor of cancer in Ohio State University Medical Center. He's a very prominent Pan-Africanist also. They have been endorsed also by the Honorable Joshua Maponga in that space. So we are saying that go out and sign those petitions. Those petitions, I'm going to press them inside the section whereby you can reach out to them, inside the description, whereby you can reach out to them and sign those petitions. And then we can move forward, because we are looking for 1 million individuals for each of these petitions, because these are the springboard. These are part of the springboard. These are part of the road. These are part of the things that we are doing on the way to African unity, as we are ramping up our effort as Pan-Africanists in rescuing our continent from aggression, from the aggression that is going on, from the numerous military bases that have been unleashed on the continent, from the aggression and the stealing of African resources, from the dysfunctional political system of neoliberalism that has been unleashed on the continent, which we are trying to wash away and bring new systems that will function and benefit the other Africans. I would like to say thank you very much for watching in. Share the channel with others. If you have not subscribed, there's more things to come for us to discuss together. And I would like to say subscribe to the channel and share it with others. And like also the video and comment down. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think? What do you think about this analysis, about the political, economic, and social organization of society from the top, the middle, and the bottom. How do you think we should handle the situation of unity? You know, you may have a different view from what I have, and you may have a different view, of course, from what Dr. Nkrumah has. But let me know down in the comment section, and let's talk about this. Let's have these discussions. But more so, don't forget to sign the petitions, the 3 petitions in the description line, because these petitions are not about me. These petitions are about us as a people, as African people all over the globe. And when I'm talking about African people, I'm talking about all Africans across the world. All people of African descent, like Nkrumah said, all people of African descent, whether they live in the North, South, or in the Caribbean, anywhere, in any part of the world, are Africans and belong to the African nations. My name is Kwame Gonza. The channel is called Africa Reimagined. Once again, peace be to you, and Africa must unite. Africa must unite. Africa must unite. Be blessed.